So this video hopefully is a game changer for a lot of people. I've been suffering with extreme suicidal ideation, and I've been frozen in bed a lot of the last 2 years, to be honest, or even when I traveled, I was frozen in my tent or wherever I was staying. And I would freeze, my body would freeze, and then my mind would just spin and spin and spin and spin. And so I've been obsessed with understanding the states of the nervous system and complex trauma, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, and the defense mechanisms that our system creates to avoid pain, usually from childhood, maybe ancestral. I had a huge moment of breakthrough this morning. Dancing has been something. Dancing and going for walks and moving and staying mobile has been something that has always led to a feeling of grounding and presence for me. And the last couple days have been seemingly as hard as ever, where I'm just like, I can't do this. Like I would wake up just frozen in freeze, like frozen, paralyzed. And then my mind the whole time spinning with shame-based thoughts, fear-based thoughts. And I looked up on Reddit, CPTSD freeze response, because I know that that's the main defense mechanism that has been so deeply in my system, is to freeze. And then also to fawn, but that's a separate topic. People pleasing. And I was scrolling my phone this morning, and I remember, of course I'm on Facebook, and I do believe that God is always nudging us back to ourselves. So even when I'm scrolling on Facebook in this state of distress, I stumble upon these stories about martial arts, and I notice how much terror comes up when I just come across reading about like Bruce Lee. And when I'm in those free states, when I think about doing things like going for a walk or going into the city or going to hang out with friends or anything that involves movement, there would just be this terror that would arise. And when we are stuck in a freeze state, we are essentially preparing to die. It's the last thing that an animal will do before they die, or to try to get away from a predator. Is they'll feign death in hopes that the predator will become disinterested. And for many of us that have experienced intense trauma repeatedly, whether it's capital T trauma like rape, extreme physical abuse, etc., or more of our parents not being present for us, which is just as traumatic in its own way. For me, it was a lot of bullying, and then not feeling emotionally safe ever. But for those of us who have experienced intense trauma, the last resort of the system is to go into this freeze response. And often the 4 responses get grouped together: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. They get grouped together, but they're different. Fight and flight are very much responses where your body's like ready to jump out of its skin, right? It's got all this energy and it wants to fight and it wants to run. Freeze is very much a collapsing, deadening response. In terms of the autonomic nervous system, it's a parasympathetic response. So instead of being stuck in sympathetic, which is the fight or flight, like activation when you're doing stuff, it's actually that your system is stuck in parasympathetic. So it's completely immobilized. And so I've known this. I've known that the medicine for being stuck in this space is to move. And that's why what almost always snaps me out of this terror, this like suicidal ideation is to just do something. Usually like today I just said, okay, I'm gonna get up and go for a walk, and I'm going for a walk. And I feel way better. I feel grounded and okay and not suicidal, which is pretty awesome. And the person who had commented on Reddit about this illuminated something for me, that in trauma therapy, a lot of times there's focus on relaxing and deep breathing, all of which are important. But if you're already stuck in a state of freeze, trying to relax when you're already pretending to be dead essentially isn't going to support you necessarily. The most supportive thing is going to be to move, to actually go into the sympathetic. So something that will activate you. So shaking, going for a walk, moving your body, dancing, etc., etc. And that can help to move the stuck gunk, the fear, really. It's like this fear that kind of settles, and it almost constricts you, and it feels like a straitjacket, and you feel like you're gonna fucking die. At least that's how it shows up for me. It feels like I'm just being suffocated by fear. And so the way through is to move, which is usually the last thing that you want to do. I mean, sometimes it would take me hours to muster the willpower to start moving, or to even just get out of bed. Like, I would have to go to the bathroom. I would literally be stuck in freeze and unable to go to the bathroom because my body would be in such a state of fear. And I am certainly not out of the woods per se. I still oscillate between these two states. I obviously, as I said this morning, was feeling as dark as ever. But the prescription is quite clear for me, and I wanted to share that. And I also realize it's something I enjoy talking about and I'm very passionate about, because I know there are millions of people that struggle with mental illness, and whether or not that's a real thing, my theory is that, and Pete Walker, who wrote an amazing book on CPTSD, agrees with this as well. Mental illness is symptomatic of the body being extremely traumatized, the body and mind being extremely traumatized. So your mind essentially splits from your body and creates all these symptoms that manifest as mental illness. But I believe the core is the disconnect from body and mind. And so rebuilding this relationship is how we heal and return to a sense of wholeness, which is our inherent nature. For me, it's so much about dancing. Like, I fucking love dancing. When I'm in my state of most joy, I'm dancing. And I think for myself, I'm realizing I need to dance more. I want to dance more. But my soul wants to dance more. So I love talking about this stuff. Comment below if this hits, if you have any questions. It's gotten to the point for me where, like, literally this is saving my life. Like, literally saving my life. Because I've gotten to so many points. Yesterday there was this point where I texted my therapist and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. There's so much pain. I'm frozen. I'm petrified. I can't live this way. Like, I can't. I was like, if there was a button I could push to end my life, I would do it. And what I keep being shown from these openings, from going for walks, is that change is possible, and it's not permanent. It's not permanent. And for me right now, I'm figuring out how to integrate this into creating a life that I want. Like, I have this understanding now, like, okay, I need to move my body more, but I still feel like, okay, I don't know what to do. And so I live at my childhood home with my parents, 35 years old. And I'm like, okay, what's next? I have these desires to do maybe stand-up comedy, to do poetry, to do music. But I don't have this like sense of like, okay, I want to do this. Like, I know I want to travel, but there's kind of this murkiness around what's next for me. And so that sometimes leads to the freeze response as well, because I go, okay, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to stay safe in the freeze response. So I feel like I'm answering my own question, which is to just continue to move my body and rebuild this connection between mind and body, and let this energy of fear and all these emotions that I've been afraid to feel come out. All right, I'm going on a tangent. My main intention was to share the insight about movement and the freeze response, and what I believe is really behind like suicidal ideation at its core. It's an intense freeze response. And I know that people can feel suicidal for any number of reasons. For me, it's never been about sadness. Never. It's always been about a feeling of helplessness, of like, I'm trapped. I want to live, but I don't know how. I'm trapped by this. I'm trapped by fear. I'm trapped by this feeling of suffocation. And because of the pain of like wanting to live and not feeling like I can, I just want to end it. So that's how it would always show up for me. It would never be like no one loves me, because I actually know logically, I'm like, there's a lot of people that love me and care about me, and I know in my heart I deserve to live. And that's why I'm still here. And I yeah, if this touches you, let me know. I know that I'm not the only one dealing with this, and that brings me some peace as well. All right. Peace.